Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, and you're listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to. Ooh, I'm gonna have to cut that. Start over, Michelle. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, and you're listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to get out your feelings so you can make the best decisions for yourself, your family, and your business. Today, guys, I have a special treat. I say that every week because the people that I bring are very special, very knowledgeable, they're experts in their field, and this week is no different. My guest today is Janine K. Brown. She is a leadership, like she's one of the people that in leadership and training. So if you have a team, you need to get your hips to this screen, share this with other people that have a team, because she knows what she's talking about. Okay. I had the pleasure of working with her recently, and I'm excited for her to share all about what she does. She has a book out there, so she knows what she's talking about. Okay. There is social proof. All right. She's not somebody that's found on the street. So without further ado, welcome Janine K. Brown.
Well,
Hi,
hello, Dr.
Janine.
Michelle. Thank you for having me on the show today. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, you did not find me on the street.
Okay. This lady knows what she's talking about. So it's for real, for real. Like I know I say things in a joking
But I
way.
do be out in the streets sometimes, but
Okay, I didn't expect that
I
one.
was not found wandering.
But she's not for the streets, okay?
I am
She's
not
not
for
for
the
the
street.
streets. But seriously, if you do have team, this is an episode you want to tune into, because leadership and keeping your team happy and growing is critical in this time where people have options of who they want to work for. So, Janine, take it away. Tell us about yourself.
Well, again, thanks for having me on the show, and to all of your listeners. You all are so fortunate to have this content, and I'm just count it a pleasure to be here. So, I am Janine K. Brown. I am the founder and CEO of Everyday Lead. We are a talent development and retention firm, and we help companies retain talent from intern to retirement who love what they do in the companies they work for. And we do that through the designing strategies around retention that are focused on professional career and leadership development. We do that through the lens of psychological safety. So I believe that people should work in a place where they all can thrive. But I also believe leaders are not leaders by title. They are leaders because they are shepherds, and they are designed to create teams that they become leaders worth following.
Y'all couldn't see me if you're listening on the radio, but I'm giving all the snaps. Like, do you see what I mean about if you have teams and you work with people? Like I saw something recently. I'm Jenny, I don't know if you saw that post about someone investing in their team member. And they like it just like turned you did because like you commented on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you echoed that. But the owner invested in their employee, and things start to immediately turn around. So this is going to be right on for you if
Yeah,
you
can
have
I
team
say something
members.
about that, Dr.
Yes,
Michelle? You know, the
please.
idea that you hire people and don't incorporate training throughout the entire time you plan to be there is actually, can I say the word asinine? It's
Say
like,
it.
I can't even imagine companies and leaders paying people to do their jobs, but not giving them the tools and the resources to be successful, right? As a leader and a business owner, your knowledge is not enough to develop someone to get the output and to take on the capacity of the work that you want them to have. And I think what happens is entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders, they get frustrated at the employee for not demonstrating the level of expertise or knowledge that they want, but they haven't made the investment. So you can't be mad at them. You got to be mad at yourself for their performance if you haven't incorporated like real good training into their work, their day-to-day kind of work. Yeah.
That is so good. You said, I don't know, this is what I picked up on that really like stuck with me. You said your knowledge is not enough. And if you're into like the entrepreneurial space, or I don't know, for those of you, if you started your own business, a lot of times you get into those places where you started to grow your team, you hear phrases like, hire in areas where you're not strong. Because it's like you need somebody else to help you alongside of it. So I want you to keep that in mind and what Janine just said. Your knowledge is not enough, and you already hire somebody that's not where your strength is. So if you're not equipping them to continue to take your business to the next level, I mean, that sounds like stagnation to me.
That's the only thing that's going to happen. And you become frustrated and you feel like I can't find good people. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you have to make an investment to create the kind of employee that you want.
That's good. Well, I recently had the pleasure of working with you to analyze employee engagement responses. So, how important is it for companies to really utilize this type of data or just a survey like that in general to create this inclusive or just a great place to work?
Data is everything. It really is, I think, the key to understanding what is happening with your workforce, no matter what size your team is or what size the company is. So, data from about their experiences while they work there, data related to how they're being promoted and when promotions are happening. I think also the data about when they leave, right? So, I think people leaders have to pay attention to their own numbers and their data to understand what's happening in their organization. And I think that's the thing that goes missed all the time. We
Mm-hmm.
don't spend enough time looking at, well, we seem to lose people around this time of the year. We seem to have women having a different experience in our organization, but they don't really understand why and what it's related to.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you end up making things up and
Mm,
making assumptions or making or you're not using the data you have, and so the information that you're sharing about your workforce, and your organization or your company is not really, may not be true, right? It may just be it may be subjective, where it needs to be a lot more objective by being rooted in the data. So working with you with our client was just a pleasure to be able to work with you. It was fascinating for me to see how your brain works when it comes to the numbers. But I will also say my client was very satisfied with the work. They actually asked about you a couple of days ago when we had a
oh.
meeting. And so, like, because you became a part of our team, right? It was such a
Mm-hmm.
seamless process for us to work with you on this work. But it's everything. And so, it's even something that we're talking to all of our clients about, like, hey, we need to make sure that whatever we deliver for you is that we're doing it through the lens of your actual employee experience. And so share that data with us. If you don't have that data, let us collect it for you.
That's good because a lot of times you said it, but I want to really bring this out. We start to attach our own opinion and it comes from our own perspective.
Yeah.
So if, and let's just say what it is, if you're in a lot of corporate companies, the top looks a certain way and a lot of times looks different than the general population. It is dominated by white men. So white men have a completely different lived experience than like literally everyone else. Doesn't matter if you're a white woman, black man, you have a completely different lived experience. And so the danger of just assuming what they're thinking or what they meant by something it's totally off because it's literally blurred by your own perspective, which they do not share.
Yeah. And it's also interesting too, because all of us have a different lived experience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
not only do we see it in gender and race differences, but we see it based on what area of the country you grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
that you were where you were educated, what those experiences are, and how we interact. I remember when I first started my career, graduating college. So I grew up predominantly white high school. Went to college, a historically black college and university, so a black experience, and then started in corporate. And a lot of my friends from college would call me like, "How do you work with these people?" Right? They had this experience what I found, and I didn't get it at first. And they was like, Janine, you just talk to them and you say whatever. I was like, I grew up in this culture, so I get
Mm-hmm.
it. But I think it also helps inform how I see organizations, right? So it's not just like our differences in that. And I think one of the things as people leaders, why I think it's so important to understand data, but also to be, culturally knowledgeable about the people in your organization, right? To be reading books about other cultures, to be reading books about leading teams and what it is to build those teams, to drive innovation, and to even help your employees increase their capacity. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I know for sure, great leaders can get people to do anything for them.
Mm.
Like they want to work, they want to do more, they want to expand their capacity because you have given them the motivation, you have informed them, you have celebrated them in the areas where they flourish. So all they want to do is say, I want to work for Dr. Michele. I want to do this work. I want to be able to make her proud. It becomes a parental relationship that a
Wow.
lot of people overlook. But unfortunately, too many leaders use an authoritative dictatorial approach to managing their teams. And the same with business owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't motivate people to want to commit and stay with them long term.
That's good. That's good. I was reading, I was on LinkedIn earlier and I was reading a post. No, it's actually Instagram. And it was a man, they were responding to him and he was saying, well, if I'm reading your resume and I see that you jumped around to different companies, pretty much he's saying like, I'm not going to want to invite you on to be an employee or in an interview. And so people were responding to it and saying like, well, loyalty isn't rewarded at most places. So it's like, and I firsthand, I know where you can go out. People, someone said I went out to another job and got like an instant pay raise, as opposed to if I just got promoted. So it's like you get promoted, your company looks like this versus go out and come back. Now you come back in a totally different tax bracket.
Yeah.
So it's like the way we've done things really has to be challenged.
Yeah. I might not make any friends saying this, but I don't know what the heck those folks in HR be doing. Right. And so you're right. I know a lot of people. So what you said, there's a couple of dynamics in what you said. So he was saying, hey, people who job hop are not the kind of candidates I'm looking for. So that's a generational thing. So if you are a Gen X, so over the age of 50, or a baby boomer, you don't feel like those people are committed to the work, and you have a lot of bias that's built into people who job hop. If you are a younger millennial, so say maybe even a millennial that's 40, say 42, 40, because people forget millennials are in their 40s now, right? So all the way from 40 to 30, though, that big gap of that millennial population feels like, oh, well, you got a lot of experience. You understand these different organizations. So we got a generational issue there. So that, again, like being informed, understanding who you're working with. And then I think there's a lack of insight on what's happening in the job market right now. So why people jump around. And then the last thing that you said was sometimes to get your money up, you might have to leave Google and go to Amazon and then come back to Google.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you find that people who boomerang, which means that they left a company and they come back to it, they do end up making more money than they would have made had they stayed.
Did you know that data-driven organizations were 19 times more profitable? 19. You heard me right. Perhaps you're asking, what is data-driven and how do I become one of those organizations? I'm so glad you asked. I want you to go take a quiz. It's a simple, quick quiz to help you assess if you are in fact one of those organizations. Head over to mogulbeginnings.com/data into dollars quiz now. That's mogulbeginnings.com. You just go to mogulbeginnings.com and it'll show you the data into dollars quiz. Take it now. You'll see if you're on your way to 19xing your profitability. You're listening to Numbers Don't Lie on KCCR Cityscape. We hope you're enjoying the tunes and all the jams. Make sure you visit our website over at brownstoneworldwide.com to learn about all things Brownstone. You can check out Brownstone Living Magazine and all the great things that we have on the website, as well as the shop. You just got to head over to the website, brownstoneworldwide.com. Awesome. That was good. And I'm sorry to the HR people. We sorry for stepping on your toes, but y'all special group. We love you.
You know, it's interesting that these systems that are used to create maybe fairness don't always create equity. So I think that's the biggest challenge that, you know, and I have a lot of friends who are HR professionals, and I do understand what they're trying to do. I don't think it always actualizes the way they anticipate it to work. So, yeah.
No, I agree. Equity is not a one size fits all. That's the problem with it. You know, that's equality. We're going to treat everybody the same way. And in some instances that may be good, but in a lot of places you have to do some things case by case.
Yeah, you do.
So my next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you face when working with companies that say they want to change, but it's just not a comfortable thing?
Whoa, that's a big question.
Okay, you can take one part of it. I'm sorry, this is one part.
That's a big thing. You know, it's interesting. I think organizations want to evolve.
Hmm.
I don't know if they always want to change,
I
right?
like that.
Which
That's
are
probably a better
different.
way to
I
say it.
think they see an evolution because they're starting to recognize even more because of consultants like me that are telling them that the workforce has changed. The ideas
Hmm.
around working, right? People are not working to live, they're living, they're not living to work. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
no,
not,
yeah.
yeah, they're not living to work. They, you
Hmm.
know, they work so that they can live. And
Yes.
we're in a more social economy now where people are trying to connect. Like, I want to work for you because you see me. I feel connected to this work, the mission, the vision. It aligns with my core values. And so I think, you know, organizations are having to evolve to recognize what sort of culture we're in, right? This isn't the Industrial Revolution. It is definitely a social workforce. And so what we find is that we just try to challenge and push the envelope for our clients, right? We ask the questions and let them settle into their own answers around it. And then we challenge their answers. And so in order to do that, I think it's really important for consultants like me to just inform our clients about what's happening in the marketplace and let them see what they need to do. Because again, numbers don't lie. If we
Hmm.
are doing evaluations on your organization year after year, collecting data, you're going to see these reoccurring themes. And so then you're going to be forced to say, hey, are we stuck in how
Mm.
we've been in, even in a profession, right? So we do a lot of work in the accounting profession, and we've been challenging that profession, and the profession has been challenged because the talent pipeline is shrinking. The number of people majoring in accounting is reducing across all races and genders. The pay has not increased significantly over since I joined the profession when I was still practicing. And so
Mhm.
they're having to say, we got to look at this differently because
Yeah.
this workforce, they don't want to work 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. This whole idea of what a busy season looks like, y'all can have that.
Right.
Um, and they also look, this is also the first generation that is that's coming into the workplace overwhelmingly with parents who are college graduates who work these long hours who were not at home.
Mm-hmm.
These people are like, I don't want to be like my dad. He was
That
never
part.
home. He didn't come to my games. He didn't. I want to be there for my children. And so, that's probably a longer answer to your question, but people have to recognize that and they want to be mobile. They want to work from in
Yes.
everywhere, which creates its own problem. So that's a
Yeah.
whole different probably show and episode about hybrid and remote work, right? The readiness of your workforce is going to be impacted by remote work. But those are the things that I see that come up most often when trying to get our clients or other companies to consider what change looks like in their
Hmm.
organizations.
I like that you use the word evolve because change is a very strong word because everything doesn't need a 180. It just
No.
needs sometimes, like you said, some tweaks to understand the culture of new employees. But you're absolutely right. My generation and younger, especially what is these, the Gen Zs, oh, they're not about to do the standard 40-hour week, coming to the office every single day. I don't even want to do that anymore. I want to be able to come in, a few times a week. I prefer to work from home, but that's me. But yeah, we saw how that is. We saw how that loyalty was rewarded. A lot of times it wasn't. You left home, you left, some of them left without a pension because the company went bankrupt, or you got fired and they lost everything. So that amount of loyalty, we're just like, nah, I'm good on that. And it comes
Yeah.
out, oh, they don't want to work. That we
Oh,
don't.
I knew
I'm
you
gonna
were going to say
take it.
that.
I'm gonna
I,
take it away.
I knew you were going to say that. And it's interesting because it's, I'm like, how do we get to that conclusion that these people don't want to work? No, they just don't want to work how you worked. I think this generation and those of us who are watching this generation of employees feel like, oh, they got it right, right? They really
Mm,
understand the quality of life. And
yes.
so where I think generations ago, we had life in its own bucket and we had work, and work
Mm-hmm.
fueled life. And now we have a workforce that's saying, no, I want my life to be the bigger part of everything, like my personal life, how I interact
Mm-hmm.
with my kids, spending time with my family and friends, travel, exploring, right? These experiences, and then work kind of helps underwrite those things. But I do
Yes.
also believe that our workforce is going to shrink. Organizations as they evolve, they're going to even start making decisions about, well, how profitable do we really need to be? Not just
Wow.
want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as that movement starts to expand, organizations and companies are going to start consolidating. So then we won't need all of these people, and automation, increased automation powered by artificial intelligence is going to do that too. I was watching 60, was it? No, maybe I was watching something on Instagram. Again, we do not get all our news from Instagram, right? But Instagram, it made me go, do some additional research on there. There's a burger restaurant in California that is 100% powered by AI. You use a pad to place your order. I think there's some face recognition that I'm sure some people are concerned about, but we do face recognition every time we open our phones.
Thanks.
So and go to the airport. So there's face recognition tied to it, but the burgers, the fries are made and packaged all by machines. And
Wow.
so those kind of jobs, those trade vocational sort of careers are going to eventually shrink. And so I think we
Mm.
need to be thinking about then what's next for organizations. And I think business owners need to be also thinking about, how can I reduce my overhead
Mm-hmm.
by employing more artificial intelligence?
And that sound, I feel like it's about to take a whole nother direction.
I'm
But
sorry.
no, you're good. A lot of times that's scary for people where they're like, well, because I think the common phrase is we're going to be replaced by robots. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's one of those things is we have to find, like, everything is changing. Like literally everything is changing. The jobs that demanded physical labor are dwindling. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I guess from your perspective, like what does that look like? Like as AI and more automation is taking over, like what does that mean for the college graduate?
It's interesting because this has already hit so many industries. We just don't talk about it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
automotive industry was one of the first and largest
Mm-hmm.
industries that was directly impacted by robots and machine learning, right? So they were able to reduce these assembly lines with
Mm-hmm.
humans because they automated with robots and machine learning, moving large parts. So you didn't need four people to move the
Yeah.
frame of the car. You had a machine that did that, and then the wheels go on automatically. I think that's just where we are. I
Yeah.
think there's an opportunity though here. I don't think artificial intelligence and technology is going to replace humans. I think humans that do not use it will be replaced. So your
That part.
refusal to not learn from these tools. So even in my organization, I don't need three or four content designers anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because I can use an open AI source like ChatGPT to write a framework for a course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are constantly populating the internet and other places with this content. So if I need to write a supervisor training, I can go to ChatGPT and do it. And guess what? I can also use ChatGPT to write the materials, put the slides together, all of these
Yeah.
things. So I think what it's going to do for us is allow us to provide more learning, more tools and services and goods to our clients. But if you're in college, you need to be looking at technology as part of whatever it is you're studying. So if you're an
I
accounting
agree.
major, you're a management major, you need to be looking at, I need to be taking courses, getting some data analytics courses. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
taking maybe a coding class. I need to understand how artificial intelligence is going to inform the industry and the work that I plan to do upon graduation.
That's good. I'm so glad you said that because it's a common fear. And I feel like it's been a fear every generation, every decade. They're, oh, they're going to replace us or my job. I mean, you got people that still want to go to the coal mines. I'm like, why? Why?
Girl, we are not talking about them people.
Girl, it's crazy to me, but it always resurfaces at some point. And I love that you said it's not that AI and robots are going to replace us. It's those that choose not to leverage it. There's always, this is my perspective. There's always going to be something to do, always going to be something that needs to be innovated. And if we're always stuck on like the old thing, we're missing out on so many opportunities. There's so many diseases out here that need cures. Like it's always something to do. So I just see the world as so many possible opportunities that just because we don't need people in this arena anymore doesn't mean we don't need people anymore.
I agree 100%.
So you said something earlier about, you said unstuck, and it made me think about your book that you have. It's called Unstuck and Unstoppable. So could you tell us a little more about your book and then how you use it to work with your clients?
Well, thank you so much for mentioning my book. Here it is on screen, Unstuck and Unstoppable, 5 Proven Strategies to Leverage Your Value, Increase Your Visibility, and Gain Recognition to Accelerate Your Career. So this is a career book. It's a great book to read with your teams. I found that some of our clients, we picked up clients because one person was reading it and it was like, oh, our whole team or all of our women in our organization should read this book, or all Black employees should read this book or something, right? So it's that kind of book. And I think it's the solution to when you get to a point where what got you here won't take you to the next level. So, relying on, I went to college or I went to a trade school, or I put in all of these hours, right? I always say, I believe in the Malcolm Gladwell theory of 10,000 hours, right, of mastery. And so, but I also feel like sometimes people, we 2 times that 10,000 hours and we're constantly head down, focusing on technical acumen, but we've been so tactical in our careers and are wondering why we're not getting rewarded with promotion, or why we don't get the bigger raises is because we haven't developed those wraparound skills that you need for the mastery. So people get stuck in mastery and don't know how to be unstoppable because they haven't built those other skills around networking, communicating your value, right? Being that one man, one woman PR team that's telling everybody the impact that you've made in the work that you do at the organization, that these clients are here because of you. Not just because we got a good product. They could be anywhere else, but they're here because of what I've done to maintain these relationships. And so that's what we do. We use the content in the book for on our one-to-one coaching, our group coaching programs and workshops that we do in companies and organizations. And we do this work for companies of all sizes. So you could have a team of 30 people, or you could have an organization that has 15,000 employees or more, and have global reach. And so it works. And so I'm really proud of this book. It was named one of the best career books of 2022. Hopefully we'll be on that list again. So, those are the things that we're doing. We're actually working on a second edition, Dr. Michele, of this book that'll be coming out this year. It's going to have more content, an additional workbook that people can buy for to accompany and do some additional work along with the book.
Let's go, Janine. Girl, tell the people where to find you in this book, because you just blew my world just now.
Well, you know what? Y'all can reach me on Instagram, and you can access our website there where you can purchase the book. So you can get me on Instagram at Janine_K_Brown.com. And Janine is spelled JeAnnine. So you'll see it there on the screen. But yeah, just hit me up. I respond to my own DMs on Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn and all social media platforms as Janine K. Brown.
I love that. And thank you again for stopping by and hanging out with me on Numbers Don't Lie. I truly, truly appreciate it. And those that are listening, you can follow me and find me on social media and online, like literally all things Mogul Beginnings. That's MOGUL. You can literally Google it. So many things will come up. Connect with me. And also remember to check out brownstoneworldwide.com for all things in the brownstone. I always have articles out there. Janine has been featured on some other things, so you'll find her as well on brownstoneworldwide.com. So thanks for listening, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your